Okay, so the first one that I will be covering is Scenario 2, the weak resistance fighter. So at first when I read this one, I was, somewhere in between. When looking at it, it was, it seemed kind of in a gray area. He wasn't in control of his actions. His fear took over, and he actually had to be shown, everything that he had given up, all the information he had spilled. So I guess the first question that popped in my mind is like, how do you hold someone responsible for actions that they're not even aware that they're doing? Well, then as I read it through again, and the more I thought about it, it was, well, we hold drunk people responsible for their actions, and it's like, well, how do we hold drunk people responsible for their actions if, they're not even aware what they're doing? Well, from the very beginning, they made the choice to drink, and right there, that's when they take that card of responsibility for everything that happens after. So that kind of brought me back to my thinking, well, at the very beginning, he did say he had some trouble with pain, and he knew he had a very low threshold for it. So if he ever was caught, that this was going to be a problem, and he came up with this fallback plan of taking some poison. Well, that's all good, when you look at it in the perfect scenario and it all works out. But you look at it exactly what happened, and he was unable to take this poison, and his fear kind of took over, and he spilled his guts. Well, yes, when you look at the question that they're asking, which is, should he be punished? Should the council punish him? Yes, because from the very beginning, he accepted that responsibility that, he was going to join this resistance, he was going to join this fight, and he accepted responsibility for anything that happened after that. Any actions that he had against, his country or whatever, he was going to accept. And so, yes, he may not have been, awake or conscious, and his fear may have very well taken over, but at the very beginning, it's assumed that you're going to take responsibility for this, and that this is something that becomes part of the job. So I find it hard to say that, he's the exception to this rule, because this did happen. He was uncontrolled and unaware of what he was doing, but from the very beginning, he knew that this was going to be a problem, yet he still continued on. And I mean, that's all good and everything, that he wanted to fight for his country, but I feel like he could have found a different way to help. It said that he just felt this, he felt it was his duty to join this fight, and, to help his country. But I feel like, if you know that something like that is going to be a weakness, like pain, and what you're going into has, a very likelihood of you experiencing some pretty intense pain, you would find a different way around that. I feel like you wouldn't just overlook that one thing and go, okay, well, if it happens, it happens, but it's most likely not gonna. I mean, that's not how it works. Like, I'm guessing every drunk person that got a DUI or something like that happened said the same thing. Well, oh, in a horrible situation, yeah, that may happen, but I'm pretty sure that it's not going to. And if it does, then we'll figure it out when we get there. Well, that's basically kind of what happened. Is he just assumed that this was never going to be the case, and it was. So yes, he should be punished. He should be morally held responsible, because he accepted that responsibility the day that he knew his weakness, and the day that he accepted that job. And he knew that pain was going to be a part of that job, and there was a very high likelihood that this could happen. And he chose to overlook the scenario and just assume that in a perfect world he could take this poison and be over. But I think from the very beginning he did. Yes, he should be held responsible, because he accepted responsibility for everything that was going to happen.